alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik alayhi. And to increase our salawats unto him on the night of Friday, on the day of Friday, inshallah, in the month of Rabiul Awwal. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of people of salawat. Right? Because the people of salawat, subhanallah, they have everything. You have everything if you are someone who does salawat. Like that's salawat. You do salawat in abundance. In abundance. You have everything. You have everything. You have, all of your, and that is exactly from the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When one of the Sahaba asked him, Ya Rasulullah, how much of my, of my dhikr should I make it, should I give to you, or should I make it as salawats to you, Ya Rasulullah? And he began by first saying, should I make, half of it, or one third, at first one third of it to you? And he says, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he simply replied, that is good, and if you do more, it's better. And the man said, how about half? And then Rasulullah said, that is good. And if you do more, that is better. And then the man said, what about two-thirds? And of my dhikr is all salawat to you, ya Rasulullah. And Rasulullah said, and that is good, but if you increase, that is better. And the man said, okay, in that case, I'm going to make all of my dhikrs salawat onto you, ya Rasulullah. All of my free time, all of my free time, right? Salawat onto you, ya Rasulullah. And the Rasulullah, he said that, and in that case, then, he said, then, in that case, if you truly are going to do that, right, then is Muhammad, your grief or your worries will be gone. Like it will be gone. Right? And your needs will be fulfilled. Right? Subhanallah. It is, and subhanallah, I mean every benefit comes from giving salawat unto Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this creation. And for us to connect ourselves to our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is in no need of our salawats unto him. But we are in need of sending salawats unto Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is a very beautiful, like you said, if you just ponder over it, right, it's a very beautiful, part of our religion that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us. Right? He makes it so attractive for us, right, to connect with our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that nobody can say that, oh, I only love Allah, I don't love the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or I only want God and I don't want any other human being. No, Allah doesn't allow that. You want to come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you gotta go through this human being, this Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You gotta take him by his hand, you gotta follow his way, you gotta love his sunnah, you gotta just love him sallallahu alaihi wasallam, mashallah. Right, so today's this line is the line of a lot of happiness in this line, because it goes محمد ضاحك للضيف مكرمه محمد جاره والله لم يضام. Muhammad in honoring his guests, smiling full of cheer. Muhammad, I swear by God, never did he hurt a neighbor. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi. In the book, mashallah, yesterday you mentioned about how Rasulullah was a gentle person. He was a light person, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in a sense that his laughter was a smile. And I mentioned yesterday that how it is beautiful to know some of people who are gentle in their personality. They're not so in your face, they're not so boisterous, they're not so loud in their personality. And so we try our best to try to follow Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, try to kind of like water down a bit. I try to decrease a bit. If you're someone who is naturally very, you're naturally very very outgoing person, or really, people are like the extroverts in some ways. Some people like that. Right, so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was more on the gentle side, he was more of the soft spoken side, keeping to himself side. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would teach when he was teaching, and he would speak to the companions when he needed to, as a prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as a guide. Right? But most of the time he kept to himself. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was silent, and the companions would describe him as someone who, طويل الصمت, right? طويل الصمت. Like he would be silent, right, for long periods of time, and that's a good trait. That is a good trait, right? So Umar said, in one of his narrations, Sayyidina Umar said that there are many times if I regret what my tongue what my tongue says, but then there's never a time whereby I regret keeping silent. Mashallah, he regretted his speech so many times. But silence, nah, silence does not regret, mashallah. And so, mashallah, So his smile, his laughter was just a very white smile. That was his laughter, and you know how humble and how beautiful Rasulullah is adab. And when he laughed, like he would cover his blessed mouth with his hands, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that's just good adab, you know. It's not just, you know, opening your mouth so widely and just laughing away. Mashallah, you know, he covered his hands in a very, you see, in a very demure, you know, in a very beautiful, modest way. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His laughter would not be heard. In a sense that he would open his mouth, right, and there would be no sound. It's kind of laughter. There would be no sound, right? He laughed along with his companions when they laughed, and this is from office. This is from his tawadu, from his humility to be with the people, right? It is from his shama'il. It's very beautiful, mashallah. That what they found funny, he would find funny, and what they were amazed by, he will be amazed by. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. While he has seen way more things, you know, like paradise, Israel, Miraj, and everything. Like, but he would be with the people, you know. He was not above them. He was not aloof. He was not, you know, separated from them. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But he was with the people, right? He was with the people, and he was concerned about what they were concerned about, and he would you know get involved with whatever they saw to be important. You know, like the story of Abu Umair. Right? It was this hadith. Like mashallah, Imam Shafi'i, you know, he extracted how many masail, right, from the hadith of Abu Umar. Right, the hadith of Sayyidina Anas radiallahu anhu. He had a younger brother, right, who was called Abu Umar. Right, that was the younger brother of Sayyidina Anas bin Malik. And this small boy, he had a bird, you know, and this is a very beautiful story, right? Because, you know, he's a little boy, a kid who had a pet, you know, and which most people would not really take, you know, much notice and not care about. Right? But Rasulullah, he cared. Rasulullah, Sallallahu he made sure to make everybody around him feel that they were cared for, that their feelings matter. Like he was way ahead of any scholars of our time, you know. They all like, oh, you need to value people's feelings, you know, whatever. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was way ahead. Like, he was way ahead, you know, of making people, you know, feel very important, right? And their feelings were important, and what they were going through was important. Like, it wasn't something by the side or something petty, no. But he knew that, you know, for this boy, his bed meant a lot to him. He liked his bed. Right? He's a boy, and he liked his bed. Like his bed. Right? And this bird one day died. The bird died. Right? And the boy was sad. Right? He was crying one day because his bird died. Right? And Rasulullah sat with him, and it came the hadith, Ya Aba Amr, Ma fa'ala Nughayr. That's the hadith. Like, oh Aba Amr, like, oh young boy, what happened to Nughayr? Like, where did Nughayr go? Right, you know, what happened to Nughayr? And this is the hadith. Imam Shafi'i, he spent a night not sleeping because he was extracting how many masail and how many like situations or you know issues they can be extracted from this hadith, right, and the laws behind it. Like, subhanallah. But it just shows the character of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know, as being as busy as he is, and he's a very busy man. He's a prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, he's a leader, he's a commander, he's a father, he's a husband, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's a teacher. Like, he's conducting the entire, you know, teaching of Islam, and the whole of Islam is being taught, right? Subhanallah. Yes, all that we have today is from one man, right? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As Imam Ghazali, you know, he would say that, you know, that my knowledge, right, compared to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is a speck of dust. I'm a speck of dust at the feet of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you go to the books of Imam Ghazali, you'll be like, Subhanallah, you know, this man is a genius. Right? But he calls himself a speck of dust, like, at the feet of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like, mashallah. And so this is the sweetness of him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, he's so sweet that he would give attention to people. You know, this is the story of Abu Umar al-Shishi. This is a continuation of Abu Umar. This Abu Umar, he actually passed away. He himself, he will pass away. Right. So basically, his father is Sulaim, so his mother is Sulaim, who is Sayyidina Anas's mother, right? And then Abu Talha, right? So who is another companion, right? Nam, right? And Sulaim. So basically, he passed away. He had a high fever and he passed away. So Sayyidina Anas's half brother, not full brother, but half brother, right, from another father. So he had high fever and he passed away. Right. So the mother was with him. The mother saw him pass away. Right. So the father wasn't there. So when the father came home, the story said the father came home. The mother did not say to the father anything about the child passing away. Right, but the mother just so the father came home and father asked her, like what happened to our child? Like how is her son? And she said, he is where he is. He is where he is. Right. That was her answer. He assumed that okay, he's sleeping, he's in his bed, he's sleeping. So she beautified herself for him that night and she, gave him dinner and she presented herself to him. And he slept with her that night. So after they slept together, then she said to him, to her husband, what do you think if someone were to borrow something from us and then they ask for it back? And he said, well, it's your right to take it back. It's theirs, right? It's your right to take it back. It's theirs. Then she said, then be patient about your son. Right? And which meant he knew it meant that the son had passed away. And he got so angry with her. And he got so angry with her. Like you knew our son passed away and you even like you give me dinner and then you slept with me and everything and you're like he got very angry with her. And so the next day he kind of marched to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he complained to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about what happened. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to him, like, did you sleep with her last night? And he said, yes, I did. And he said, then may Allah bless you in your night. And may Allah bless you in your night. And she got pregnant from that night. And she gave birth, right, and she gave birth, right, to, how, to I think she gave birth, right, to someone who memorized the Quran. In fact, there are a line of people who memorized the Quran, right, from thereafter. So, mashallah, there is that you never know, right, you never know. But this story is always told to show the patience of Sulaim. Like how many women could do that, right? Your baby just passed away. Seriously, subhanallah, baby just passed away. And she's like she sees the akhirah. Okay, khalas, he went from this dunya to akhirah. Okay, well what are you gonna do about it? Right? Make another baby. Basically. And this that was what she was that was subhanallah. If you want to say if you want to think practical, subhanallah. Of course she was emotional and she was heartbroken that her child I mean which woman would not be, right? Your child just passed away, your baby just passed away. Like but subhanallah, she's just like looking at the akhirah. He transferred from dunya to akhirah, so I'm gonna get another baby. And to look after. Ya Allah. The Sahaba, they are different kind. They are different. And Sahaba, they are different. They are different. Subhanallah, with the Iman. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would offer his hands to greet others and smiled at whomsoever he Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam met. During the greeting, he Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would not withdraw his hands before the other person withdrew his hands first. MashaAllah, right? MashaAllah. Right. So and all of this shows what? Tawadu. Every trait here, it shows, humility. That is why he is called Sayyidul Mutawadi'in. He is Sayyidul Mutawadi'in. He is the leader of all those with humbleness or with humility. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So to offer your hands first is being humble, like going up to people, seeing people, going up to them, offering your hands, smiling at them, and making them all feel so welcome, making them all feel so special. Like only a special human being does that, okay? A special human being and a very humble human being. They don't think like, oh, you know what? I'm the prophet. I'm older. I'm this. I'm that. They must come to me. They should come to me. No, mashallah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he was one of the older people in every gathering because he got his revelation. He got the first revelation when he was 40 years old. Right? So most of these narrations, he was in his 40s and his 50s. Right? So he will be an older man, right? In any gathering, and he'll be of the elderly, an older person, right? But he will be forward. He be foremost. He was in doing all these things. Right. So during the greeting, he would not withdraw his hands before the other person withdrew their hands. And this is a very beautiful sunnah. Let You allow for people to hold his hand for as long as they wanted to. And some of them just held his hand. Like they just wanted to hold his hand. Subhanallah. And so he allowed them to hold his hand however long they wanted to hold his hand, mashallah. And again I would always like tell the children, when you salam people, you make sure you salam people properly. Give people your full hand. Don't give the tips of your fingers, right? There is very bad adab. Some kids literally they give you the tips of their fingers when you're doing sal and they're trying to give, trying to shake your hand. Like what is that? Why are they doing that? Why are they giving the tips of their fingers? Like full hand. The joint to your thumb, right, between your pointer finger and your thumb, right? That joint. Like that joint should be hooking in with the one that you're shaking hands with. This is Sunnah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The joint between your thumb and the pointer finger, if you all know what I'm talking about, right? That should hook in with the hand of the person that you're holding, the Sunnah. Okay? Which means what? Full fit, right? It's a full handshake, right? A full fit into another person's hand. And don't just give the tips of your fingers, and then you give her such a soft hand. Some of these kids, with the salami, like at the moment their hands are like, tip of their fingers, and then just touch and go. What do you think I have some disease that you don't want to take from me? Like subhanallah, just touch and go kind of salam, Like subhanallah, give people their full rights, like give people the time, right? The attention. That's what Rasulullah used to do. And he'll give the full hand, hold the entire hand, subhanallah. And then he will wait until they withdrew first, and then he withdrew his hand. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Such was his beautiful character when he Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was with others. Indeed, so he Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave utmost importance and exceeded in his virtues when he Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was with his guests. Right, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You can go on and on and on about really his interactions with other people and how beautiful he is, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and how far we are from that, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And really, everyone who came into his presence, they thought they were the most beloved people to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Every human being, like every person thought that they were the most beloved because of how he really gave attention to everyone. And for me, I'm just amazed by that sunnah. How is that? How can a person give so much attention to every single person that comes to you, to the point that everyone thinks that they are the most beloved? I mean, this is an amazing character, right? To have. I don't know how it's done. Like, how does he, like, you're giving someone so much attention, that, and making them feel so important. And this happens to every single person who comes to you. Subhanallah, right? And this shows the vastness of someone's heart. Right, the largesse, right, in a person. Like, subhanallah, he's like he's a wide heart. Subhanallah, everyone can fit in there, into his heart, and giving them, the just his attention and his time. As we mentioned, one of his sunnahs is that when people call him, right, when people call him, he would turn to them in his entire person, his whole, and if you just reflect on that sunnah, right? That is tawadu. That is from humility. That you don't just, give them, like an in our zaman, right? What? The hawla wala quwwata illa billah. Sometimes we don't even turn our face because we're so obsessed or so engrossed in whatever we're doing, right? And we don't even turn our face and look at people because we're typing away, or we're scrolling, or we're reading or something, and you don't even turn to them. But Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, his sunnah is to actually turn to people in his entirety, right? Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and face them, like he will face his entire chest, and not just the face, the chest, and the whole body is faced towards the individual who called him, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and whoever that individual may be. Right? It could be an old woman by the street, which happened. An old woman by the street came to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and she had something that was bothering her, something on her mind, right? And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sat with her. He stopped for her, and he sat down with her by the side of the road. We know that it's not a big deal to him, right? That, oh, he's a prophet, he's a leader, he's this, he's that. But he's just like, someone needs help, sit down, talk to them, Like subhanallah, the tawadu, right? The humility of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, how humble he was. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Right? And so his virtues, his guests, mashallah. Right? And even in fact, even to the point whereby Allah had to reprimand the Sahaba in the Quran because Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was too shy to say anything. There was an incident whereby he just got married, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, to Sayyidina Zainab, right? Zainab bin Jahash. Right. So he just got married to her, his wedding night. and he had a walima, and he had a walima for his wedding, for his marriage. And a Sahaba came, and then there was Sahaba, right? There was some Sahaba who kind of hung around, and they overstayed. They just wanted to hang around and talk to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, having no sense, right, that they should leave, right? So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he was so shy to say anything to them. You all should leave now. I want to be with my wife. But so he sat with them, and they were talking and talking and talking the entire time. And he sat there smiling. Then he got up, went to his room, and he came back out, and they were still there. And he got up, went to his room, and he came back out, and they were still there. Right? So subhanallah, like this, and he was too shy to tell them, can you all please go home? Right. So, but Allah is not shy. Allah is not shy. Allah revealed the verse. Right. Allah revealed the verse and said to the companions, Sahaba, all Muslims or believers, when you are invited, right, to an invite to the Prophet's house, then come, right, come for the invite. And when you're done, leave. And do not hang around wanting more conversation. No, leave. Right. And Allah says the Quran, and that because you hang around, that actually harms the Prophet. But he is too shy to say anything. Like he's just too shy to say anything to you all. He's a leader, subhanAllah. He's a leader, he's a prophet. He could very well say to them, y'all, can y'all go home? Like, oh, say, oh, I know I want to spend time with my wife. I just got married, so can you all, like, Bismillah, Assalamu alaikum, Sadakumullah, like, you can go home now, bye, mashallah. And but he didn't say any of these things, he was too shy. He was just too shy to say to people, you overstayed. And the people had no sense that they overstayed. So Allah reprimanded them in the Quran. And Allah says in the Quran, Allah is not shy of the truth. And Allah is not shy of the truth. Do not harm the Prophet. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because he's too shy to tell you all to go home. So you should know by yourselves to go home. Subhanallah. But he was, the most generous with his guests. Right? Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Sometimes the Prophet ﷺ would spread out his burda or his cloak that was on his bare shoulders onto the ground as a seat for his guests, right? Because they were that poor. And they were that poor. And their ground is basically sand, and they're not having any mat or any, towels or whatever. It's just sand. So he would use his own, covering, like his own cloak to put on the ground. So he will sit on his covering. So the higher he was at them. So once a man from the hypocrites came to him, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, let him, and he said, let him enter, he is of the worst of people. This is what Rasul said. So Rasul is a he. Rasul said, let him enter, he is the worst of people. However, when the man entered, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would smile in his face and treat him well, and he was beautiful in his character to his person, even though he knows this person is one of the worst hypocrites. Right? And they are hypocrites, meaning they are enemies, right? They hate the Prophet, so that he was of these people. Right? But the Prophet would treat them in the best manner. Right? So so he was asked about this when the man left, and he was asked, Ya Rasulullah, before he came in, you said that he is the worst of people. Right? Then when he came in, right, you treated him very well, Ya Rasulullah. Right? Why? And he said that indeed the worst of people are people whom others are wary out of fear of their ego. Right? So basically, he explained that you know what, right, the worse somebody is, right, the better you should treat that person. That's what it means. Right? The worse someone is, the better you should treat that person. Right? Because they have evil in them. Right? They are bad human beings. And there are bad human beings in the world. Right? So the worse the person, the better the treatment of that person, because doing anything that is against good treatment will just trigger the evil in that individual, and they will harm you, right? They will harm you or harm your family. Right? So these instances portray how the Prophet ﷺ honored his guests with utmost importance and respect. So that's why Muhammadun Dahikun Lidayfi Mukrimuhu. And Muhammad, in honoring his guests, smiling full of cheer. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. According to Abdullah bin Ali al-Haddad, Imam al-Haddad here, one of the many forms of worship that can save you in the hereafter is to honor your guests. Right? Never be shy, or never run away, or never dislike like having guests, because in the hadith, Rasulullah SAW said that the guests, they come with their own rizq, right? The risk that you give your guests, right, is not yours, okay, it's theirs, right? So guests come with their own risk and they leave with your sins. And when the guests leave the home, right, sins leave with the guests, right? The sins of the household. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam perfected faith with honoring guests, and he sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, whomsoever or whosoever believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whosoever and whosoever believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the last day, then honor your guests. That is of the, of the hadith about those who truly believe. Man yu'min billahi wa yawmil akhir. It's from a longer hadith. Right? Then honor your guests and whoever believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the last day, then do not speak, uh, 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 do not speak unless it is good. Right? That is what of the hadith from this hadith, right? So don't speak at the exit point is good, and they're all connected, right? They're all connected, right? Because it's all about relationship with other people. I only say what is good. And that is the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As you mentioned earlier on, he is tawilu samti. He's tawilu samti, yani he would remain silent for long periods of time. Right? Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was not a talkative individual. He was not talkative. Right? So Rasulullah, he perfected faith with honoring guests, right? So which means this hadith means from the perfection, right? From the perfection of someone's iman is that he honors his guests, right? And he loves people coming over and to be his guests, right? Alhamdulillah. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam always give reminders to good to our neighbors. And he Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Jibreel continued to advise me to treat neighbors well until I thought he would make my neighbors my inheritors. Right, so that was of the hadith to show the greatness and the importance of our neighbors. And we know many stories of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and his great treatment of his neighbors, no matter how evil they were. Right, in Mecca. One of his neighbors in Mecca is Abu Lahab, his very own uncle who was his own enemy, right? Abu Lahab. Abu Lahab made an enemy of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, mashallah, it's interesting, mashallah, you see that for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right, with regards to his uncle Abu Lahab, he has he treats his uncle like in with full respect because he's the uncle, uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But the uncle is vile. The uncle is like the worst human being, right? Going around when Rasul's sons passed away, his younger son, Tahir, Abdullah Tahir al-Tayyib. Right, so he's the second son, the younger son of Sayyidah Khadija, the second son, Sayyidina Abdullah al-Tahir al-Tayyib. Right, the story, he was called a Tahir al-Tayyib. One of the narrations says that it is because he was born in Islam. Right, so Fatima Zahra was born 5 years before Islam, like 5 years before the revelation. So it was said that this last son, Sayyidina Abdullah al-Tahir al-Tayyib, like he's called the pure, right, the pure one, like he was born in Islam. This is why he was called that, right? And he passed away as with all the sons of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They don't live past the 2 years of age. Right? He passed away young. And it was that Abu Lahab, the neighbor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, like when he heard about the death of the son of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, to show how ugly this individual is, right? He was laughing loudly in his house where Rasulullah in his house can hear him. Right? So they can hear their neighbor gleefully, laughing away at the loss of this boy, or the loss of the child of your neighbor. Right? This is so, it's so disgusting that even in countries with warfare, right? When like, in the olden times when you go out in battle, if the other army had like a child who was lost, a child that passed away, they would have like a day of silence, just to respect. This was in the past, right? In the past when they had warfare, in that way, when they had chivalry and they had humanity, like in the past. Now, like they don't care anything about children, about people. Like Subhanallah, Habib al he will say that we are in a jahiliyyah thaniya. Like there is a shad wa aqas wa aqbah, أي بكثير الشر من جاهلية الأولى. Right, so there is a jahiliyyah there is the first jahiliyyah, like the age of ignorance. That happened, before Islam, before the coming of Rasulullah. We are in a second one right now. We are in a second age of ignorance that is so much worse. And much that really, really much worse than the previous Jahiliyyah. At least for them in that time, they had respect for humanity. They did. They actually had that respect for the woman and the children. And in our Zaman, they don't care at all. They don't. They just plunder and they bomb and they kill and they whatever. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Allah al muntaqim. Allah will see. So, subhanallah. Inshallah, we will stop here right at this point on the neighbors. And continue inshallah tomorrow. Tomorrow is Burda. Okay, so tomorrow inshallah we'll start sharp at 6:45 Burda. It will take us about hopefully less than an hour for Burda, inshallah. But mashallah, tabarakallah, Burda is always nice. It's always nice. It's all always nice now. All the stuff, all the maulids are nice. So I hope you all went through 1 week of maulids with us so far, and you've heard the different mawalid. Like this Sunday is 12 Rabi Awal here in Tarim. Right, 12 Rabi here in Tarim. I think you all 12 Rabi is Monday. For us, we began Rabi 1 day earlier than you guys. But Sunday, I want to have a program. Inshallah, I'll announce it. Inshallah, I want to invite. I'm still thinking who to invite. I'm thinking inviting Zuna Zainab to give a kalima. Inshallah, I'll see how. Okay, barakallahu fikum. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Subhanakallahu. Dua maulid. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. So dua maulid.